You're listening to The Watchers, a show where two women from opposite ends of New Jersey watch movies about this movie is about a couple of things. But I'll say, before we really get into it, a movie about like roller skating in typically prohibited places after hours.
Okay. I like, it's better than saying this movie's about statutory rape, which is actually what it's about.
It is better than saying that.
Yes. Yes. This is an interesting one.
This is a movie about avoiding statutory rape in a way that is viewed in the movie as unproblematic.
Yes.
You can see why that I may have blocked. I blocked a lot of this movie out. Although I will say, we'll get into it. I haven't said who you are. I haven't said who I am.
Yes.
But the one thing I do want to say is, aside from the glaring issue of a nearly 30-year-old man pursuing,
which is brought up repeatedly.
Yes. And I think this episode, I'm so sorry, listeners, that I did this to you. We should keep account of how many times I've had to apologize to our listeners versus you. And I don't think you've had to yet. And I think I've had to 3 times now.
I mean, there's some problematic shit in some of the movies that we've watched that I've suggested. Other than that most glaring issue, this movie is pretty harmless. Yes.
I'm Andrea.
I'm Jodie.
And we watched Hiding Out.
Yes.
The 1987 Jon Cryer, Keith Coogan, Annabeth Gish, Joy Behar movie.
Yes. I think you're right that other than the glaring statutory rape part, this movie was pleasant, funny, kind of harmless, a good time overall. Love a roller skating sort of thread running through it.
And it's so unnecessary. I almost feel like I want to dive into that so we can be done with it, because it's such an issue.
I know.
But I feel like for our listeners who didn't watch the movie, maybe we should. Oh, Jodie, how you doing?
I am great. I've been eating bagels for days.
This is what happens when you and I chit chat for 40 minutes before the episode starts. I forget that our listeners haven't been with us the whole time.
Yes.
You got Jersey bagels running through your veins.
I got Jersey bagels from Hot Bagels in Fairlawn. Shout out to them. I walked in. They were out of salt, which was really sad for me.
Oh, no.
They said I could have waited.
Bagel.
Oh, so do I. I could have waited 10 minutes for them, but I was on my way to do other things. So I got 2 cinnamon raisin, 2 everything, and 2 plain.
That's a pretty good order.
Yeah.
Have we talked raisins, you and I? This is important.
And I don't know that we have. I know that cinnamon raisin bagels are controversial to some people because of the sweetness.
I love a sweet bagel. Typically I prefer a savory bagel.
Me too.
But I do like a sweet bagel.
Yeah.
But I don't like baked raisins.
Okay.
A cooked raisin, I don't know.
It's a texture thing.
They turn into what I think bugs would feel like if I ate a bug.
That's fair. I mean, I don't prefer cooked raisins in most things, but I think as someone who worked in a bagel shop for 2 years and just like lived on day old bagels, I grew accustomed to it. I will say my favorite bagel is still and will always be a salt bagel fresh out of the oven, little bit of butter on the grill, like on the flat top.
Jodie, I have not had breakfast yet today. I would destroy a bagel right now. That sounds amazing. That
is what I would do when I worked at the bagel shop. I would get there at 6 a.m. We'd turn on the flat top, or I'd get there at like 5:45. We'd like start the coffee going. I would grab a salt bagel, cut it in half, put some butter on it, throw it on the flat top, and
this
just
is the
house
whole podcast now. I'm so sorry to our listeners. This is the whole podcast now. This is all I want to talk about.
I still have 4 Fairlawn bagels in my kitchen right now.
I think after this, I might have to go get a bagel. And I have horrific TMJ. Like bagels are a real hazard for me.
Same.
but sometimes it's another reason why, sadly, I know that a fresh bagel doesn't need to be toasted, but it makes it a little less, again, hazardous to my literal well-being.
Yeah.
But I will risk just
no, I've had a ton of dental work, and I will risk it
for a good bagel.
I did eat an entire cinnamon raisin bagel in the car dry while I was driving. Just ripped it into pieces.
That's how you know it's a good bagel,
because it was fresh.
Okay. This is why I know
they handed me the bag, Andrea, and it was so warm. It was like holding a baby.
I'm tearing up a little bit.
I was tearing up a little bit in the moment. I was like, this is why I come to Jersey.
Well, this is why people think we're annoying. And I mean New Jersey, why people think Jersey in general is annoying. And I know that we are about things like pizza, and bagels.
Shout out to Patsy's in Patterson, where I went for the first time this week.
Was it good?
I didn't have the pizza, so I can't vouch for it. I sat at the bar waiting for Gath, who got stuck in horrible traffic. And Sounds right. I ordered him a pizza, but I got linguine with mussels and red sauce.
This is so coming home to Jersey of
food
you.
Podcast. Well, so because I parked on the street around the corner from Patsy's, and as I was walking up the side of the building, I could smell the red sauce. It's like the Subway bread smell that comes out that tries to entice you in, but this is good.
Yeah,
the red sauce smell was like coming out of the pores of the building, and I was like, okay, I understand that their pizza is probably the thing, but you can't get slices there. It's like a pie thing. And I didn't know if Chris was going to actually make it, so I didn't want to order a whole pie.
To share a pie, yeah.
Right. And so I was like, well, I do love some seafood and pasta. Like, that's my jam normally at an Italian place, is like some sort of seafood pasta thing.
There's also something so like this just shows how stunted I am about what I'm about to say. There's something so like grown up and indulgent about sitting at a restaurant like that by yourself and ordering fucking pasta and seafood.
Felt very cool.
Yeah.
Because I sat down at the bar because I didn't know what time Chris was going to get there, and I was like, I'm just going to hang out at the bar. The bartender was super nice. The waitresses kept checking on me. They were like, "How you doing? Where's your friend? You by yourself?" And I started talking to them. One of them was from Saddlebrook. One of them was from Lodi. I was like, "These are my people." The woman asked me like what street I grew up on. We like chatted. Jeremy Schneider.
This is why you're like 3 feet taller today.
I am 3 feet taller today.
I can see
I'm also a few pounds heavier because of those bagels, and the linguine and the Dr. Fruit in Patterson. Yeah, I ate a lot in the 2 days I was there.
I love. Okay, I'll probably cut this because this means nothing to anybody. But I really love that Geth had this part. Had a little show, like a small show in Patterson, and just all of New Jersey turned out for it, but turned out for it and went to like go eat pizza for it's just I love it.
Yeah, because I'd never met Jeremy in person. Jeremy Schneider, writer for NJ.com, food writer guy. Great guy.
Lovely.
We've interacted on Twitter.
He ate the 1 pound mozzarella stick.
He ate the 1 pound mozzarella stick. He also did a blind taste test of pizza from different places and fucking nailed it.
That was
the most impressive thing I've ever seen.
So impressive.
I was so impressed.
Yeah.
But so I was sitting at the bar and I saw him walk in, and I wasn't sure if it was him because I'd never met him in person. But it looked like, because I've seen him on the live streams for New Jersey's the World. I was like, I think that's Jeremy. He was with a couple of guys. I didn't say anything. I sat at the bar, I ate my food. And then I went to
And he said, "Are you Jody Bergen County?"
He definitely did not. He did not recognize me at all. My face has never been on those live streams except for one time, I think.
I think you and I met officially on a live stream before either one of us were actually involved with the show.
That is true. So after we got to the venue,
appropriately, I think we were talking about Mallrats.
Oh, we were. That's right.
Yeah, I'm almost positive that
we definitely
that was the one.
Were. Yeah. Because the guys were like kind of ignoring any female perspective on that movie.
Yeah.
And I was like, excuse me.
Hello.
We need to chat about the, some of the things going on there. But yeah, so then I went to the venue in Patterson, which if you are a Jersey listener, go to something at Prototype. I think it's 237 in Patterson.
You were sending me pictures.
That place is so rad.
Amazing. It looks so cool.
Like, as somebody who went to art school and loves DIY spaces, like, Prototype is doing something that barely exists anymore because it's so hard to pull off. Like, old garment warehouse, live work, art studio space, putting on shows. Like, these things are so hard to do these days, and they're doing such an amazing job. I really loved it. The people were so nice. They were so welcoming.
It's not a shame all of his shows are sold out at this point, because that's lovely and great. But I was about to suggest that people look up, anyone who's from Jersey or nearby, look up the closest where Geth is going to be on this world tour, this Jersey world tour, and use that as an excuse to go visit one of the spaces that they booked for these, because it seems like it's kind of a feat to have found this many, I think is the point too, that you're making.
Yeah. But I apologize for all of the Jersey talk up top this week. We do appreciate those listeners of ours that are not from Jersey and don't care about it for putting up with this. But
I listen to lots of podcasts about things that I don't have directive,
Yeah, I know. Like, I just got back. I did have a great time. I saw some comedy. I went to a great venue. I caught up with a really old friend who's known me since I was like 15.
Aww.
So, who has 5 children and lives a very different life from me, but
Jersey has a really great active comedy scene that I think people outside of Jersey don't necessarily realize, because especially North Jersey, I will say, South Jersey, it's just different, but North Jersey and Central Jersey really, really do.
Yeah.
Which you might not know because New York is so close by, but it really is thriving, and really because of people like Nick Fierro, and that kind of like group of people
Kate
there.
Nichols.
Yeah, exactly. Are really working to build that place up, or build Jersey scene up. So if you are in New York, Philly, Jersey, whatever, coming through, I would say,
and go sit at the bar at Patsy's, and go get some Dr. Fruit, and get some bagels at Hot Bagels in Fairlawn. The one on Saddle River Road. That's the one with the old school sign. That's the good one.
That's how you know.
Yeah.
So
we should talk about this movie, I guess.
That's the Jersey of...
Yeah, Jersey update. I feel
Jersey
great.
Update.
I'm full of bagels. I'm going to have one for lunch, probably.
I am. I'm absolutely going to go get a bagel after this. There's no way it's not happening. It's just going to happen.
Yeah. So I think the thing that we have to do is I have to describe the plot of this movie.
Yes.
So
what's hiding out about?
Oh, gosh. Okay. Let's see how I do. I didn't write anything down this time, so this is going to be a mess, but...
No, you got this. I have faith in you.
Okay. So it takes place in the 80s. Andrew Morensky is a stockbroker, for some reason in Boston and not New York, which really threw me, but that's neither here nor there. He and 2 of his coworkers have gotten involved with some mobsters, taken some bad bonds of some kind, and have been roped into an FBI investigation where they're supposed to testify. So one of the 3 gets killed while Andrew is in a sort of witness protection situation. And one of the 3 is killed. He goes into hiding, basically. It's not super important how, but he ends up kind of running away from the FBI and from the mobsters, and running to his aunt and cousin in Delaware. Originally, he's supposed to meet up with his aunt, but then when he goes to the high school to meet up with her where she works, he's mistaken for a student, and I guess the light bulb goes on, and he realizes that even though he's almost 30... Important point. He's almost 30. He passes for a high school student. And so he and his cousin Patrick, who is actually in high school, try to hide him there away from the FBI and the mobsters, who do eventually find him because a card gets mailed to his grandmother. His grandmother's incredible. We'll talk about her. She doesn't talk to cops. But they eventually the mobsters find him. There's a shootout, which was a little weird, in a school. Again, we'll talk post-Columbine, how that feels different. There's a shootout. The guy that's chasing him from the mob falls to his death. But the thing that's difficult about this whole movie is not that plot. It's
No, that's fine. That's actually perfectly fine.
perfectly fine. But during this time, while he is pretending to be a high school student, the almost 30-year-old stockbroker falls in love with a 17-year-old high school student, supposedly. She falls in love with him. The statutory rape of it all is like barely escaped. And then at the very end of the movie, he testifies, then has to go back into hiding, but he gets to choose where he's going. And so he chooses to go back to school at the college where the 17-year-old is attending as a freshman. And so they meet up at the end in Ohio or Iowa, somewhere with 4 letters.
The one with the corn or the potatoes? I forget.
Yeah, one of the two. I think it was Iowa. And it's implied that they begin their relationship again now that she's 18. And they go off into the sunset to be a kind of creepy. I love that they didn't at the end make him a teacher. They made him go back to school because they were like,
certainly dressed like a teacher.
He's dressed like a teacher, but he's
there a second
apparently
where you thought it was going to be far enough in the future, like maybe it was like her senior year or something,
right?
Or whatever, but that he was a professor.
Yeah, well, he looked like one.
Yeah.
And then they make it clear on purpose that, like, no, he's gone back to school for teaching because that was like, he realized while he
really wants to be around students.
Yeah. No, but because I guess part of his discovery of himself while he was back in high school was that he didn't want to be a stockbroker anymore because there's more to life than money. Yay. How'd I do?
You crushed it.
That might be kind, but thank you.
No, I think you did a great job.
Because there are 2 plots, right? There's the mob plot, and then there's the sort of romance.
Are 2 plots, and that's an interesting thing that we'll talk about when we get into the reviews a little later, maybe. The thing about Maxwell, Andrew, Eddie,
he takes his name from a coffee can. He's Maxwell
such a good
Hauser.
bit. It's a very funny. It's such a like trope, but it's one that always works for me. But the thing about his and Ryan's relationship
Side
is that
note,
we are.
Oh, sorry. Go ahead.
No, go ahead.
No, I noted that she has a boy's name. That was like such a thing in like 80s and 90s movies where the cool girl had like a boy name.
Yep.
Yeah.
Totally. But we're supposed to be rooting for them.
Yeah.
It is, aren't these two so good for each other? If only she were 18.
Yep.
And isn't he such a gentleman for not following her to college until she is 18?
Yeah. Yeah. And they kiss once. That's like the only thing that happens that kind of breaks the artificial line of
his hanging out with, even if he had never intended.
He took her on a date
because she does kiss him.
Yeah.
He does reciprocate for several seconds. But
They're
aside
fully
from all
dating.
Of that, yeah.
They're dating.
Should not be hanging out alone with a 17-year-old girl.
No. They're dating. They're not just hanging out.
No. They're going on dates.
Yeah.
Whether or not he thinks every time they go out, I'm not going to let her kiss me, I'm not going to touch her.
They're still dating.
Still going out on dates with a 17-year-old girl.
Yeah. Yeah.
Who, when we get to the end of this movie and she's so happy that he's followed her to her Jodie, he has shown up as a student at her college.
He stalked her.
When they met, she thought he was 17.
Yeah.
That is also a huge issue.
Yeah.
Even if you want to pretend like the age gap itself is whatever.
Yeah. They
still met under the assumption that he was a 17-year-old boy.
Mm-hmm.
I do want to say for this movie, for the production, for the behind the whatever, I'm not saying this to excuse the movie's age gap or that this age gap would also be appropriate or would be more appropriate because it's almost like the issue of the numbers is a problem, obviously. But the other problem is she thought he was 17 and he wasn't. Like, that is a problem, even if he is only 19. Like, it's bad. Like, it's just not, it's
Their
not okay.
relationship was based on a lie.
and on a bad one, and on a big one.
Yeah.
Jon Cryer, while making this movie, is 21 or 22 years old, playing 29, which is why he looks like a baby when he does get the haircut. And he doesn't look like a baby, but he looks much younger.
Well, and Annabeth Gish was born in 1971. This is an 87 movie again, are we doing? 1987?
Yes, this is 87.
So she was 16 when it came out.
Wait, 71.
71.
I did the math. I was like, so she was 26, so she was older than him?
Nope.
No.
She was 16 when it came out, meaning she was probably 15 when it filmed.
Meaning in real life. Oh, yeah. So that's probably why there's a review that calls her 15 in the movie, and it's probably Annabeth
because she actually was when she filmed.
So she was 15 and he was
21.
21, and they're kissing on screen. Mm-hmm. Very cool. Mm-hmm. Very, very cool.
Mm-hmm. I mean, I will say, not to excuse this, because this is not a good thing that I'm about to say, but my first boyfriend was 19 when I was 15.
Yeah, I think
we
that's the
dated.
Issue. Yeah, I think the issue here is that we're saying,
not unusual.
No, that's what I mean. Like we were saying at the top of this, other than this movie is pretty pleasant, and, it's a murder. There's murder and whatever, but it's pretty unproblematic for the most part.
Yeah.
There's some 80s homophobia a little bit.
Yeah.
But it's the kind of homophobia that is
and there's some mild casual racism that's not as bad as we expected it to, or as I expected it to be.
Yeah.
But
and so the fact that this is in this movie this way just tells you how not a big deal it was to anybody at the time.
Yeah. My mom knew I was dating a 19-year-old when I was 15. Yeah. She wasn't thrilled about it, but she was like, well, he lived down the street. Well,
because I think people do. This is what I mean about the numbers of it not mattering if Jon Cryer's character is 22 or 29. It's not about 15 and 19 is only 4 years. I've dated people in that window on either side.
Oh, yeah.
But not when I was 15 or 17.
Exactly. Yeah, if the person I was dating when I was 15 was 25 or 26, my mom would have had a different opinion.
Right.
Yeah.
It is... I just call me crazy. I just don't think high schoolers should be dating people who aren't in high school. Call me crazy. And not even just not in high school. I want to say also, Jon Cryer was a stockbroker with a full beard.
Yes.
With
a very bad
him.
Beard, by the way.
Bad beard.
That was a terrible
really
fake
have
beard.
to try to age him up, and they do a much worse job aging him up than they do aging him down, and that's because the window, I think, is smaller in the reverse.
Yeah.
I do actually like that, because so often, I think when I was talking to you about it, I was like, I'll bet there are people playing actual high school students in this movie who are older than Jon Cryer playing a 29-year-old playing a high school student.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
Can I say something without people getting mad? Are you online enough to know what I'm... Are you online enough to know that meme?
I don't know. Am I? What meme?
It's mostly on Twitter. It'll be can I say something without people getting mad? And then it's a picture of somebody you're not supposed to think is hot.
Oh, Jon Cryer.
Sometimes it's offensive, and it's just a beautiful actress that we're supposed to think is ugly because she's not, But oftentimes it's something my first thought, I don't know.
Was your first thought Steve Buscemi?
No! My first thought was so much weirder.
Because I kept thinking of the Hello Fellow Kids meme.
No.
With him with a skateboard.
My first thought was, I think, is Eddie. Is Eddie the name of the dinosaur's son on Dinosaurs?
Oh my God. Yes. Andrea. Is this why you want to make me watch Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles?
Can I say something without people getting mad? It was supposed to be my lead in to Jon Cryer with that haircut and the fucking everything he wears as a high school student and all of that. That was supposed to be. But now maybe it's the dinosaur son from Dinosaur. I'm crying.
Is this why you want us to watch Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles? Is this your first crush?
I want us to watch Ninja Turtles because that movie rules. I've never had a crush on a turtle, Jodie. How dare you?
Just a dinosaur.
I've also never. That's what took me by surprise. I know that we don't release the video on this, but I was shocked by my own brain.
Yeah,
that
I could see that happening.
The first.
Yeah. No, I watched that in real time. Jon Cryer is the most charming I've found him in anything. I do not find him attractive, generally speaking. No. I do not find any of his characters particularly attractive ever. He was more, I don't want to say authentic because it's clearly he's acting, but like he felt more settled into this role in a weird way than I've seen him in other things. Like he was just kind of like, had a little bit of charisma that I wasn't expecting.
Totally. Because he's got this haircut that I, again, love.
Yes.
Unironically, I think he is like crushing it. In high school.
It's
absolutely crushing it. It's a great haircut.
Well, the clothing too. It's that 80s.
I was gonna say,
I don't know if he was wearing combat boots, but it looked like he is.
He's dressed like he could also be in Heathers. Like he kind of looks like, he reminds me of like Christian Slater a little bit.
Trench
coat. From the neck down.
Yep. Trench coat, t-shirt.
Yeah.
Very, very 80s.
It's very cool.
Yeah.
He is really kind of charming in this movie in a way that I didn't remember from watching this as a kid.
I was surprised because I generally when you said Jon Cryer, I was like, all right, fine.
Yeah, exactly.
Because I'm not a huge fan, but
no. What other than 2.5 Men, which is I'm not even one of those. Yeah. Oh yeah. Oh, Pretty in Pink. Yeah. He's likable in that, right? Again, a movie I haven't seen in a million years. But
and my memory of it is that he kind of gave me the creeps a little bit.
What year is Pretty in Pink?
86, I think. It was because we talked about how it was a year before Some Kind of Wonderful.
Which is 87?
Yeah. We're on an 87 streak right now.
Okay, so this man used up all his... Because he does have that one thing that makes me... In Pretty in Pink, he does the Otis Redding lip sync that is really, again, charming and...
Yeah.
And so he had 2 years, I guess, of... Yeah, 86. So Jon Cryer had 2 years of being charismatic, and maybe everybody gets a reservoir, and some people have more in their reservoir than others. But either way, you can in these 2 movies because I really think he's really charming and likable in this, despite the fact that he's
I was
pursuing a teenager.
Kind of shocked that I enjoyed him. Yeah. I mean, I love Annabeth Gish. She's great in this. Yeah. I loved Mystic Pizza. Have you seen Mystic Pizza?
I don't think I've seen Mystic Pizza. I think it's a movie that
when I was looking at Annabeth Gish.
Yeah. I think I feel like I have. It's one of those that I think I have maybe just.
Yeah. I mean, talk about Julia Roberts at her most like effervescent. We may need to watch that at some point. But yeah, Pretty in Pink, Hiding Out, and then Hot Shots. I like a lot of sort of not amazing parts.
No, I think it's a slow descent to 2.5 Men after this.
Yeah, it seems like it. Yep.
And I just don't. I think that show sucks anyway. And I think most people would.
Yeah.
And so, but I just think he just becomes so unlikable, which is a shame because it seems like
he had some charm.
Yeah,
he's Lex Luthor in the new Supergirl or the most recent Supergirl.
Huh,
interesting. But yeah, so I found him charming. I found Annabeth Gish also very natural in this movie and very charming.
She's great.
Yeah, I really enjoyed her, and I was kind of like, despite myself, I kind of bought their chemistry here and there. Not the whole time, but like I did buy
again because we are supposed to be rooting for them. They actually
they both know the truth about Nixon.
That scene is so. That's what I mean about where I was like, oh, Jon Cryer is good in this movie. I expected to be watching this and being like, oh. 10-year-old, however I would have been the first, Again, I watched this movie a lot as a young person.
Yeah.
But we had this one on VHS, so I just watched it all the time.
Yeah.
But that's like that scene where he's reacting to the teacher talking about Nixon and like trying to hold himself back, but he can't. And he's like, and it turns out he's defending her paper. It's such a fun scene. Like,
there's a lot of those.
You're supposed to be rooting for them, Jodie.
I know. It's awful. Yeah, but there's a lot of those fun little scenes. Like when he goes to pick her up for the date. Again, but he like gives the dad some stock or some tax tips.
Yeah.
You know? There's like these like fun little moments with these little gags that are sweet and that actually do work. You know?
Yeah. He's like, I'm going to keep coming back to this because despite the fact that he's trying to date a 17-year-old, he doesn't come across as slimy. He really doesn't.
And he should, because it is slimy.
Well, there is the one line where he says, where Keith Coogan, who we'll also talk about, Patrick, his cousin, calls him out on it on that first date. And he says, I was a perfect gentleman. Believe me, it wasn't easy.
Right. Which is gross.
And that is
gross.
I love this is just such an aside, but when he's first like getting registered at the school and he's making up all the information, and that's where we get his name is Maxwell Hauser, which is funny. But when she asks where he went to college, his line delivery he's like Cornell, high school is really good. It made me like, I laughed out loud a few times watching this movie.
Yeah. And it has so there's this whole genre of 80s sort of like silly heist movies. So like Top Secret, which I think I've mentioned before, it was one of my dad's like go-to silly movies. Naked Gun was coming up around this time. Like
I loved those movies when I was a kid.
So like that kind of humor I think is also in here.
A little bit, yeah.
Like you texted me at the very beginning and you were like, "Oh, I forgot there was like murder in this movie."
There's
and
like
I'm like,
kind of a lot
of violence that's very lighthearted. That's very Naked Gun. That's very like, you know, that period of time of like silly violent movies. Yeah,
and like the thing that at the end when they get into the shootout, it's Patrick shining the big spotlight in the killer's face that
to blind him.
Are
you looking something up?
I was looking, I couldn't remember what the car was called, the Jersey Jet. And there's
should we talk a little bit? Oh, sorry, go ahead.
Well, the one thing while we're talking just more like umbrella about the movie, in my head, I thought this was a movie where Jon Cryer goes to trial Jon Cryer testifies against a mafia boss in trial and then goes into hiding.
Right. Which would make more sense.
Yeah. It is weirdly convoluted because I guess it's so there's some end point, because if that's the case, if he just goes into witness, then that's the movie.
Right.
But there's that weirdly convoluted stuff at the beginning where it's like he's on the run from the mafia who finds him, and so he has to go double on the run, like you said. Yeah. But he's still awaiting trial, and then but I guess there's something interesting to be said of like he's not really him when I'm giving this movie too much credit.
Yeah.
But while he's not on Wall Street, while he's in Boston, and he's not really him while he's in the high school, and it's not until he gets into this third identity, this Eddie Collins, where he can really be quote unquote himself and date a high schooler. So you know, it's I guess it's doing some stuff there.
Yeah, there's some sort of. There's other lines like he says something about half these girls look like they're 35 and just got divorced. You know, there's comments about how old
I don't remember
the
them
girls
looking
look.
like this when I was in high school.
Yeah. Whoa. Yeah. Like you said, there's also some homophobic stuff, but like, I don't know if I could say this way. It's mild, and it's also in a weird context. Like the fact that they're basically learning about the spectrum of human sexuality. I think we're supposed to think that this teacher is like wild for doing this. But I was like, oh, that's so progressive. Like he's teaching them about the spectrum.
I don't think we talked about it in 2002 in high school.
We definitely didn't when I was in high school.
But it does set up the joke of Patrick thinking Maxwell is hitting on him in the bathroom. And he tells Maxwell he doesn't have an issue with people being gay. He just isn't.
Right.
So even that is like,
but then we also get the weird like gay rape jokes and stuff, which was kind of gross.
Yeah, not great.
Yeah.
Again, all stuff that everybody was fine with in 87.
Right.
It is really interesting to see. I'm not surprised by this, but it's just like every movie we watch,
every single one
has a couple of either just blatantly racist or homophobic. Or transphobic or deeply misogynist, just like
all of it sometimes all together.
Exactly. But just as
normal.
Just,
Yeah.
Which I know none of our listeners are surprised by, but just to see it so often in movies that it didn't occur to me to remember to be offended by, you know what I mean? Until watching back.
100%. Yeah, I mean, I think we can kind of briefly talk about the race stuff in this. I texted you and said, like, you know, we've been watching a lot of very white movies, and that's because we're two white women from New Jersey that this is kind of what we grew up on.
Right.
And the race stuff in a lot of the movies has been non-existent because there, like, literally haven't been any black people, or they're, like, so peripheral that it's, like, they're not really there.
Right. Right. The thing worth commenting on is the absence of in so many of the
Yeah. And in this movie, they are there. And I think that all we need to say really about that, because it's not really our place as white women to decide how racist it is, I think, in my opinion. But I do, and I just mean that, like, there's this thing about people being like offended for the black community that sometimes feels disingenuous. That I was concerned that it was going to be a lot worse than it was. You know, like I was concerned that the black high school students were going to be like seen as the drug dealers or the troublemakers or whatever, and instead they just really like rap and like
they really like rap and student politics.
Yeah, which was like, okay, that's not what I was expecting. I mean, the rap part, like,
but
and I said this to you as well, like 1987 was, I mean, I as a white suburban girl was obsessed with rap at this point. Like, it was everywhere. It was a part of the culture, and it would have been a notable absence almost if it hadn't, especially because it was an integrated looking school, you know?
Yeah, I think that if there's an issue here that I feel that stood out to me, it's that I get the impression, and because we have a good cross-section of movies at this point to compare it to, that if the filmmaker wasn't interested in representing hip-hop in this movie, we might not have had a single black character.
Right.
I think that's where the like obvious glaring issue for me is. It's not in their portrayal. It's not, you know what I mean? Like, it's not in any of that. It's just that, like,
it's just that they were thin caricatures. I was just going to say they're one stereotypes.
Well, exactly. They're just kind of
they're worse.
Yeah, they're one dimensional, I think is the, but you know, other than Jon Cryer, who is a stockbroker in a high school, who's pining after a high school student, I do think that's the case for most of the characters in this movie. So it's also that it's not like
there's a lot of flat characters.
They're not the only ones suffering from that treatment.
Yeah, like the women in this movie are not exactly three-dimensional.
No,
again, not uncommon. Yeah.
I mean, the Russian mafia, they don't seem to have any real interior lives, and that's, you know, that's lazy.
I also think that you mentioned the custodial engineer, the boxer.
Ezard.
Yeah, that to me felt a little bit magical black person character.
Yeah, totally. Especially when he shows up at the very end to save the day with his cool boxing skills. He's also though very likable and charming.
Absolutely,
like, I loved Ezard. He actually had a whole movie with him.
Yeah, and he actually had a little bit of a backstory and a personality, and like,
he's a cool boxer who did good in Atlantic City.
Yeah.
A lot of Jersey in this movie.
A lot of Jersey. Do we get into it now? All the Jersey.
I mean,
Is there any? We're gonna probably enjoy this part more than anything else. So let's make sure that we've gotten through. I mean, we don't need to. We've talked about this with other movies, but this feels very pre-Columbine. Again, the scene at the end where they're running around in the auditorium, I was like,
yeah,
yikes.
It feels bad. It
feels
always
bad.
It's always going to feel bad.
Yeah.
It is a real bummer.
Yeah. Couple of little things. I kind of liked the relationship between Patrick and his little girlfriend. The taller, weird, like horny teenager. I liked that sort of like that moment.
It's funny because she's obviously played a little bit as a joke, and he's not totally. He's like kind of like just happy that anybody's paying attention to him. But she's kind of cool in her own way, and she's not like bothered by his kind of like
she's just into it
of her, and they're still together at the end of the movie. So that I like that,
and she has opinions. You know, she can say that she didn't like the movie that they saw, you know. She's kind of in charge of the whole thing a little bit, which is nice. She's taller than him, which I've fucking related to. Every high school relationship.
Lets him drive.
Yeah.
It's the letting him drive, you know, like it's neither one of them have their learner's permits, which is very funny.
Yeah. I've been this height since I was 13, so I related pretty hard.
Jodie's 6'4", just for our listeners.
No, but I have been almost 5'8" since I was 13, and the boys took a while to catch up. See if there's anything else. We can let's talk about the Jersey part, and then we'll talk about like the behind the scenes director stuff too,
and all that stuff.
Yeah, but there are some Jersey moments in this movie.
There are quite a few for a movie that isn't a Jersey movie, and that had in my head we're not. It's so funny because we're not doing it on purpose. In fact, when we first started talking about movies we would do, we thought we were going to maybe set Jersey aside and like do our own, let it be its own little run of movies. But we just we can't help it.
Yeah, we can't stop it.
First thing that happens is Andrew goes on the run, and we see him stop at a gas station, and the radio playing is a Jersey radio station because he's in Jersey.
Yeah, it's probably a Krauser's.
That's where he is reborn. It's where he does his makeover. It's where he has a significant bathroom haircut.
Yep.
On his way to Delaware.
Yeah, the two main locations are Boston and Delaware.
I thought maybe that's why they set them where they set them, was to give it enough distance, because if he was in New York, it would make sense. Yeah, but it wouldn't make sense for him to go to Jersey if he were in New York. It wouldn't make sense for him to go so they put like as far apart as they could make them, but still be close enough that he could have gotten there, you know, by train. Like,
I think there's also something to what you said last night via text, which is that nobody goes to Delaware unless they don't want to be found. Like, Delaware is just a non-place.
Yeah.
I can say this. I spent a year and a half there.
Delaware.
Yeah, exactly. Like, I went away to college first to Delaware and then went, what am I doing here? And left. But yeah, it's kind of a non-place. No offense, Delaware. Actually, no. All the offense.
All the offense, Delaware. Wilmington is okay because that's where the Queen is, which is a cool venue. And then otherwise, there's no reason to be in Delaware.
Yeah. No. I've heard their beaches are nice. I will never go. I don't need to. I'm from Jersey, and I live in Rhode Island.
There's no reason to go to a Delaware beach unless you're in Delaware.
Yeah. Other Jersey things, the director of this movie was born in Paterson. Bob Giraldi, who we'll talk about in a minute. The roller skating. I know that it's not Jersey. I know that it's not a thing that Jersey owns. And it's more an 80s thing than it is a Jersey thing. I know that. But as somebody who grew up near the rink in Bergenfield, which was a huge spot for hip hop in the early and mid 80s, and who had to message my childhood friend today to remember the name of the rink we went to, which was in Wallington, I want to say. I keep wanting to call it something that it's not. Hold on. I have to look at it again so I don't mess this up. Wallington roller rink. For every birthday party and every like school trip and everything. I spent a ton of time roller skating as a kid. So it was really fun to see their date at the roller rink, even though it was a date, which is creepy and bad. But
that's another scene where like he's kind of bumbling. He's like not great on skates, I guess because he's old is the joke there.
Yeah.
But it's where Annabeth really gets to kind of like be a person with a like independent personality. She has to go get the ketchup because he is, you know.
Yeah, she's like competent and confident and all of that. And then there's like I had like leftover cringe when the slow, like the ladies' choice thing happened. Cause I was like, oh, that was always the worst.
The couple skate?
The couple skate. Yeah.
I also have a long history with skating rinks in South Jersey, with a skating rink in particular, because my best friend when I was in like middle and early high school she was a few years older than me. She was not a stockbroker in Boston, but she was a senior when I was a freshman. It doesn't matter. My point being is that she dated one of the DJs at our local rink. And so we were there, when I say every weekend, sometimes twice a weekend for like a good 2 years.
Yeah.
And I'm not like roller skating, like skating, we were like, it was like everybody was really into rollerblades by the late 90s.
That transition had happened.
Yeah, but I'm not like a huge, like I bought roller skates during the pandemic like many people did, but I didn't,
including
it's not
me.
like I had, it's not like I had already had a pair that I held on to because skating was such a big part of my life. It's not that skating was, I want to be very clear, the rink was a huge part of my life for a good, like I said, like a good 2 years, maybe a little more. But we would go and our rink had the X-Men arcade, the 4-player one, and the Simpsons arcade games. So like I would just go dump quarters into those and listen to all of the like club mixes. And there were a couple of skaters there they would be there every single time we went, which meant they were never not there, who were so good.
Yeah, that was my favorite part.
Yeah.
Yeah. My mom.
What do they call that? Is it just expert skate? No. What do they call it when it's only the people who can do like flips and shit are allowed on the floor?
I don't remember. But like my mom was actually a really good roller skater. And so like I was actually really into it. Did she? No.
Were the two things ever combined? Were they really not, or do you just
never?
Not
no, really never.
So
No.
I can't believe they weren't combined.
No, no opportunities for that.
Okay,
but yeah, I was there for the skating and the music because, as we have discussed, I was a dance nerd. And so, and a cheerleader.
And roller skating is just dancing on wheels.
Exactly. And so I was very, very, very into the skating part of it. But yeah, so seeing that was really fun. And then seeing him roller skating around the school at night.
That's the dream.
Yeah.
This is it's basically Frank.
I know.
Basically Frank Weiler vibes.
I know.
Time.
Yeah.
Big time.
Although I would never have actually wanted to spend time in school after hours like I would in a museum, but it's that like you're not supposed to be there thing.
Exactly. And specifically doing something you shouldn't be doing there. And schools are one of those people have become recently obsessed with, and it's something that I don't know why I felt the need to clarify. It's something I've always been obsessed with, but with liminal spaces.
Oh, and you were obsessed with liminal spaces before other people?
Before they were cool. And it's not this
got to liminal spaces first.
It's not.
This is the nerdiest thing you've ever said in your life.
I just didn't want anybody to think that I was like dropping a phrase because I wanted to like get internet cred. That's all. I've never in my life dropped
Nobody would ever have thought that in a million years.
No?
No.
Okay. Well, now I know. Well, just in case they were going to think it, now they won't.
Oh my God.
And I know that definitionally this isn't actually one of those, but it's got that feeling.
Mm-hmm.
And especially because like,
you were into liminal spaces before they were cool. I'm sorry. I'll get over this in a minute. I'll get over it in a minute. Oh God.
I just mean it's something I think about a lot.
I'm in an empty mall in my background.
Yeah. Exactly. Yeah.
No, I do get it.
And this is sort of that. It's not quite, but it is sort of that. And especially, wow, we could really get into it because especially considering like Max himself is in this weird liminal like space of an identity that is like not real, and it's in between his previous and the one that we know he's going to be moving into, where he dates a high school student. She's a post-high school student, but she should, in his head, forever be a high school student.
She's 18 now. It's all different.
Yeah. But I do love the nighttime. And he's he's making announcements over the loudspeaker for fun because he can. And that's where we meet Ezzard, who I could, for all we know, until the end of the movie, be a figment of his imagination.
Until he stops the mobster.
Yeah, because he's a cool boxer guy.
Mm-hmm.
And hold on though, the reason he lives at the school is he's saving money because he and his buddy are going to start a donut shop out on the West Coast.
Which is such a strange reason for them to just throw in there. It was so funny.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Nah, Ezzard.
Yeah.
Where's your movie, Ezzard?
I know. I was interested in his story. So the director of this movie, like we said, is from Paterson. But even more notably than that,
I just love that he had to have some Jersey in there then.
Yeah.
He didn't need to.
No, he had to get it in there, though.
Can't help ourselves.
Yeah. No, 100%. But he was also the director of the Beat It video, Michael Jackson, and the Pat Benatar video for...
And a million other music videos.
Yeah.
This man, his filmography is...
It's all short films and videos, like music videos.
And then this one movie.
He did 2 others. He did National Lampoon's Movie Madness and Club Med. And then, 4.
Is that a real movie?
I think so. Yeah. He did a movie called Dinner Rush, which is an actual movie. Yeah, he did a few movies, but for the most part, he was... Yeah, Dinner Rush is a 2000 movie with Danny Aiello.
Wait, this kind of... At a popular New York City Italian restaurant on a dramatic busy evening, there are 2 gangsters, cop detective, food critic, ex-bookmaker owner, his chef's son, indebted gambler, sous chef, etc. So it's an ensemble.
Yeah, it had a good reception. It was like his best received movie.
You mean Hiding Out wasn't?
Weirdly enough. But yeah, he did a few movies, but he is most known for primarily music videos. He also now is a professor.
I was trying to figure out what all of these shorts are, because he has either directed and or executive produced a billion shorts.
Yeah, and I think that's so he has an advertising background. He was one of the original Mad Men types at Y&R. So he comes from that world.
Such an interesting body of work.
Yeah, he's got a huge background in advertising and then also music videos. He directed the Lionel Richie I Just Called to Say I Love You video, which I just rewatched because of this, and it is fucking weird. For Hello. Yeah, it's for Hello, not I Just Called to Say I Love You. I'm sorry.
Wait, he did the video. Wait, he directed Hello? Oh my God.
Yeah, you know what I'm talking about.
Yeah, of course I do.
So creepy. The blind girl?
Yeah, I think our listeners, my guess is they know this video. If you don't, go watch this video. It is so strange.
Yeah. Love is a Battlefield, though, is a fucking classic. That's a great video. It's
a great video. It's a great song.
Beat It is obviously one of the most well-known music videos of all time. He also directed the Pepsi ad that Michael Jackson was in, where his hair caught on fire.
That is... I mean, he did a lot of Michael Jackson stuff.
Yeah.
History, which is that collection of his greatest videos, and it's a big deal. And
he also directed a Kenny Rogers and Dolly Parton Christmas special.
Also, Will Smith, Just the Two of Us. I love that song still, unironically. Maybe a little ironically, but I do love it. But he has just a really huge. Yeah, it's a big deal. Also, the soundtrack for this movie, I think it's
great,
amazing. I think it's really great.
He also directed the music video for one of the songs in the movie.
"Catch Me, I'm Falling," "Pretty Poison," which is that is a song that probably if you walked into a skating rink today, you might.
Yes,
it's
such a roller rink song.
It's such a roller rink song.
It's such a roller rink song. I love it.
I love that song so much. It's been in my head for 2 days now since I watched the movie.
It's definitely got that sound.
I was really impressed, but now knowing he's got this history in music videos and pop music at the time and all of that, like it opens with a Boy George song.
Mm-hmm.
It's got this cool version of Roy Orbison's Crying with Katie Lang on it.
Yeah.
It's just a cool little soundtrack.
Yeah, it's got a lot of good sort of surprising musical moments.
Yeah. And stuff that it's not just that he went for, this is what I mean about like knowing that he has like an actual like history and investment in music, and also makes me feel a little differently about his including the group of students who are obsessed with school politics and hip hop.
Yeah.
Because it's not just like the hits of the time thrown in without thought. It's like there are artists in here that I just never heard of and only know, from hearing them in this movie now. So I think that's pretty cool.
The tagline for this movie, can you guess it? Are you looking at it?
I'm not looking at it.
What would be your tagline? I have a feeling you can get close. It's pretty basic.
To hide out, he's got to fit in.
Ooh, that's good.
Thank you. It's not that?
No, there's only one thing more frightening than murder.
Oh, high school.
High school.
True. That's really good too.
Yeah. But yours worked. I liked it.
I think my issue is they don't usually actually use the title in the tagline like that. It was a little too on the nose, I would like to talk for just a few moments about the supporting cast in this movie. Annabeth Gish, my love for her comes from SLC Punk, a movie I think you said you haven't seen.
I have. I don't really remember it. I think it was one of those that I saw like when it was new, and I didn't fall down the rabbit hole of it and become obsessed like some people do.
We're probably going to watch it. It means
that's okay.
a lot to me. Okay. As long as you don't remember it enough that it would feel like a new watch.
I really don't. Yeah. I remember when it came out, and I remember all my friends being obsessed with it. I'm sure I was asked to watch it at some point, and I probably liked it, but I don't really have a memory of it.
It's probably going to be sooner rather than later, because we've talked about a lot of stuff that builds into it, and now we've got a handful of actors under our belt who are in that movie. And a lot of the movies I've brought to the show were from before I was born or not old enough to remember their like immediate release. Like this movie, I was a year old when it came out. But this is what cable television did. Like I don't think I've mentioned this on the show, and it's not really worth quote like mentioning, except it does explain why I have watched so many movies from before I was born so many times, is that my grandmother, for some reason, when we got a VCR, we had several VCRs in the house, brag. But she got obsessed with taping movies. And we had binders. She had bookshelves full of binders that cataloged each VHS and what movies were on them. And she just taped. Wow. She would go through the TV guide and see like what was on HBO and what was coming on and tape everything. And then when we realized you could hook up 2 VCRs and steal movies from the video store, we would rent movies and then just copy them onto blank tapes. And we did it.
You said this was your grandma?
My grandma.
Your grandma rules.
She was honestly the best. This was like a weird thing of hers though, because she was a very Christian, straight-laced woman, except
for stealing movies.
I don't think it occurred to her that that's what she was doing.
Yeah.
Like I just don't think she realized that you weren't supposed to do this.
Right.
And I mean, we had everything. And so I just watched movies constantly. And this, for example, was one of them.
Yeah.
But that's why. And it's also why I have a weird, like, anachronistic idea of a lot of these movies, because they were all on shelves in my house. So I didn't really have that, like, how did I get there? Oh, but because of that, we've watched a lot of movies on my end that aren't the late 90s like we'd kind of expected. And so I think maybe now that we've set a pretty good foundation for both of us for this kind of movie. And I think when it comes my time next we'll start moving in maybe to ones that are a little more
well, and especially
timely.
I think next week's movie, which we'll talk about in a little bit, is also going to fit into this trajectory pretty well.
Cool.
So you said supporting cast. So Annabeth Gish.
Oh, yes.
Your connection
who
is
I loved
with
from
SLC
Punk.
Right.
And then Keith Coogan, who's
Patrick, yeah.
and has worked forever, but my two movies for him for this are this movie and another one that we will probably watch at some point because I don't think you've seen it and I am obsessed with it still, is Don't Tell Mom the Babysitter's Dead.
That's another one I cannot remember if I've seen or not. That's the one with Christina Applegate?
Keith Coogan.
Yeah, it's another one that I think I've seen, but I have like very little memory of it. We were a big oh my god.
Oh wow, he did Adventures in Babysitting and Hiding Out the same year. He's another one who's just kind of always been working. Don't Tell Mom the Babysitter's Dead is 91.
Okay.
It's another movie, Jodie, you will be shocked to learn I saw in theaters.
When you were like 4?
I would have been 5 or 6, depending on when it came out.
Yeah, I think I was mostly aware of that movie because of Christina Applegate. We were a big, oh my God, I keep blanking on the name of that show. Al Bundy.
Married with Children?
Married with Children.
Hell yeah. Same.
My dad was a huge fan of Married with Children. My dad had like a kind of...
man crush on Ed O'Neill or a regular crush on Peg Bundy?
I think both. Both. My dad had a dark and sometimes filthy sense of humor. Mm-hmm. And so was a big fan of that show. And so Christina Applegate was like a huge part of my television life. I feel like that's
the kind of show where like dad can watch it, but the family can too, and dad can kind of get like... Yeah,
he was also an Archie Bunker guy. Like anyone that was like foul-mouthed and blue collar, my dad was in.
Yeah, same. Yeah. Your dad and I have that in common.
Yeah.
David Duchovny is in this movie playing an absolute slimeball.
He's good at that.
Yeah. But yeah, Don't Tell Mom the Babysitter's Dead. Christina Applegate, David Duchovny, Keith Coogan, and then a bunch of other people. That's a movie, Jodie, you should watch even if we don't cover it on the show. Though we kind of should, because it really, it's like this serial Mom and Death Becomes Her, kind of like my trifecta of sort of like black comedies that rotted my little brain to make it this brain. So
yeah. Well, and I may be adding Mystic Pizza to our list.
We can do whatever.
It's a very Molly Ringwald movie for me to choose, even though she's not in it.
No, it's a genre, though.
Yeah. I will say that this has one of the tropes that we've seen a lot, the sort of mean, popular high school boyfriend, but he's not nearly as mean as most of them have been.
He's just
just popular and annoying.
Yeah, and as soon as he realizes... Because they have that sort of like standoff at the end where Max, Andrew, Eddie, who dates a college student or who dates a high school student, takes O'Rourke. I don't remember his first name. That's O'Rourke,
Kevin?
though, right?
Yeah,
Kevin.
I think it's Kevin.
A lot of Irish in this movie.
Yeah.
He takes him outside at this wherever they're hanging out to tell him, I think, that he's going to drop out of the running, and Kevin thinks they're gonna fight, and then it takes one conversation of Max being like, she said you were a pretty decent guy, and he's over it and it's fine. And in fact, he supports Max because did I miss a part where they rig the election so Kevin wins?
No, so the teacher rigs the election.
Remember, Kevin
she doesn't like, you know,
that's right. There's that scene where
Nixon.
they talk. That's right.
She doesn't like Max, and she said she's going to rig it for Kevin. And Kevin's like, I don't really want you to do that. And she does it anyway.
That's right.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Interesting.
Side note: Bob Giraldi went to Eastside High School in Patterson.
Oh, that's the Stand By Me. I mean
the Lean on Me.
That's the Lean on Me high school.
Yeah, their mascot is the Ghosts. Nick Fierro literally was talking about East Side High School because it's where he was a sub at the show I was at. It all comes full circle. One of the most underfunded school districts in New Jersey.
Yeah.
Yeah. Neglected. Okay. We got back to Jersey real quick.
We have one more actor I want to talk about.
Let's do it. Who is it?
And it's Claude Brooks.
Oh, yes. You want to talk about this? I did not research him at all.
So Claude Brooks plays Clinton.
Mm-hmm.
And has done some acting. Has done he's done plenty of acting.
Okay.
In various.
Yeah, he looked familiar.
Yeah, he's done some acting though, like pretty much just up until the late aughts. How do you say 2008? Just like 2008 is his last IMDb entry for acting. But he was in stuff like he was in Bowfinger and some episodes of like NYPD Blue and that kind of thing.
He's in
21 Jump
Girlfriends.
Street. Yeah, he's one of those.
Yeah.
He's been around. But most importantly, he is the creator and executive producer of Hip Hop Harry. Do you know Hip Hop Harry?
I do not know Hip Hop Harry.
I love Hip Hop Harry. Hip Hop Harry is a children's show. And I'm sure you can watch the whole thing online. I just know it because I follow Hip Hop Harry on Instagram. It's basically Barney, but cool.
Really?
Hip Hop Harry is like a person in a bear costume. He's got like a Flava Flav clock necklace. And he just does a show with kids where they like learn lessons and have stories and sing songs. And there's always a dance circle at the end. And it is
I love this so much.
Charming. And if you follow him on Instagram, Hip Hop Harry is just like, we'll just go out, out and do, what do you call the, like on the street, like remote kind of.
Yeah.
Whatever's. And it's amazing. I love Hip Hop Harry.
Oh, he also produced was involved with executive producing Dance 360, which is a dance competition show.
Oh, cool.
Which sounds like it was a little earlier version of like So You Think You Can Dance.
I love that.
I might need to check out Dance 360. Yeah. That's so cool. Yeah, I knew he looked familiar, but I couldn't figure out where I knew him from.
Yeah, because acting wasn't like his biggest thing. It's honestly mostly Hip Hop Harry. And then also I just noticed this. Did you see Doggyland? Because now I'm going to have to watch that. It's done but it's now. Oh my God, that's Snoop Dogg. It's Snoop Dogg and a bunch of 3D animated dogs. Oh
my God.
In a vibrant world where they sing, rap, and dance to fun and educational songs that teach learning and cognitive fundamentals for kids all around the world. I love this man whose name I already forget.
Yeah.
Clinton.
Yes.
Oh God.
His name is Claude Brooks.
I love Claude Brooks. I love him.
I do too now. I mean, I thought he was fun in this movie.
Yeah, he's great.
But
I love that his passion became educational children's TV told through a giant hip hop bear.
Amazing. Honestly, amazing. I would have loved Hip Hop Harry as a child.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. I mean, I do now, but in a different, I would have been obsessed. I would have been like trying to go to take Hip Hop Harry rules.
That's awesome.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, I love that. Oh, he did a guest on Facts of Life once.
Oh, he just that
we brought up recently.
Just kind of seems genuinely lovely.
That's so cool.
Yeah.
Oh, I learned something new.
I know. So there's your follow for the week. But anyway, I've been watching Muppets Mayhem. Are we at this point in the show? I'm so
I think we are. I think we can kind of put we can put to bed Hiding Out with Jon Cryer and Annabeth Gish.
His high school girlfriend.
Interesting revisiting of how comfortable we were with the concept of a 28-year-old dating a 17 or 18-year-old.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yep. Totally fine.
And also,
there's no mall in this movie, but there was a skating rink. I feel like
that really made me happy.
Mm-hmm.
Brought back some memories.
Did you like it?
I did. Once I was able to put aside the this is obviously statutory rape.
Mm-hmm.
But other than that, I feel like all of these movies have these giant caveats. Other than that, yeah, I enjoyed it. This is the most I've liked Jon Cryer in anything. I love Annabeth Gish. Like, it had some fun 80s references. So, yeah. Overall, didn't mind spending my time with it.
Cool. Also, I think this movie is like an hour and 27 minutes or something like that.
I love a sub 2-hour movie so much.
I'm really glad that you and I have that in common, because boy, do I love to be like, oh, how far into this movie? How much do I have left? Even if I'm liking a movie, my ADHD brain just needs to know. And when 100%. I do that and I'm like more than halfway through a movie, it is, oh boy, is that a good feeling.
Yeah.
Because oftentimes I'll be like 20 minutes into a movie and I'll see it still has like 2.5 hours left.
Yeah, no, I am not a fan of long movies.
So yeah, so what else do we do? Oh, the reason I started talking is I've been watching Muppets Mayhem, and it is, I'm biased. I'm biased, but that makes it not complicated. I love the Muppets so much. They mean so much to me. So because of that, I am on the one hand,
the original Muppet Show was my favorite show of all time. Yeah,
I've just watched it every episode so many times. The only artist on my vision board to get into the Left of the Dial studio for a live session are the Mayhem. Like, It's a dream of mine. I love them. I love the Muppets so much. I love Dr. Teeth and the Electric Mayhem so much. Their shows and movies in the last like 25 years or whatever have been kind of hit or miss for me.
Mm-hmm.
And so when I say that this show is delightful, it is delightful. I laugh out loud every episode. I haven't finished there's only one season, but I haven't finished it yet. But it makes me laugh out loud every week. It makes me cry. It like really gets the Muppets in general and the Electric Mayhem in particular in a way that is just feels really good, and it like understands why, like, the nostalgia of it, but without being like, I don't know, but it's also kind of like new and fresh without being too, it's like a little what's the word? Not pandering. It's like a little Hello Fellow Kids that way.
Mm-hmm.
But the Muppet Show has always been like whatever the celebrities of the time are make an appearance. It's just, it doesn't feel that way when you're in 2023 watching the original Muppet Show, because everybody is a classic at that point, you know?
Have we talked?
But I really love it. But, and also the main cast, like, there aren't too many like white men in the show. There's like one of the leads is Anders Holm from Workaholics.
Right. Have we talked about, I feel like we have to have talked about this. Have we talked about Emma Daughter's Joke Man Christmas?
We have, not on here, but
okay.
Yeah, it is. Absolutely, we have.
Talk about crying. I will cry from the beginning to the end of that movie. I will just sob the entire time.
It's so... Oh, what's the word? I don't even have the right word for the kind of emotion that... Again, it's the Muppets in general, but like that one, there's something so like...
It's so sincere.
Sincere is the perfect word.
So sincere.
The perfect word. I
feel like we are getting into this habit of sort of like recommending things every week, and I like this.
Yeah.
So if you're recommending that Muppet Show, Muppets Mayhem...
Are you recommending Junkman Christmas?
No, because it's not Christmas. You can't watch it when it's not Christmas. Yeah. You have to save it. But what I want to recommend, if you've already seen the movie, not if you haven't. If you haven't, you can't do this. But if you've already seen it and you haven't seen the bloopers that are on YouTube.
Oh my God.
It is the hardest I have laughed.
I know.
I watch it frequently.
And it makes me laugh. Every time.
My feet are stapled. Like
Muppet bloopers in general
are
just one of the greatest things, but it's like a masterpiece to watch.
It's incredible. It's so funny.
Good. Oh, I'm crying.
Wendell is one of Wendell is one of my favorite Muppets of all time.
Correct.
The guy that blows the jug.
It's a correct
a
correct feeling.
I have one other recommendation. My other recommendation is an NJ.com article from 2019.
Ooh, called?
That's called Inside the Rink, the iconic roller skating hotspot that ruled North Jersey in the 80s and 90s, about the rink in Bergenfield, which again is not the roller rink that I primarily went to, but it is the roller rink that was frequented by like LL Cool J, Run DMC. Like it was a huge hip hop hotspot in the early to mid 80s. Has an interesting history. There's some great photos. So yeah, I would recommend that article for people who are of a certain generation that spent a lot of time at the rink. If you haven't read that article, it's really good.
And it's by Amy Kuprinski, who's been writing for NJ.com for quite a while, and a lot of her stuff is great. So I haven't read this one, but I will because she's great. She's also the one who wrote the article that I don't remember if I referred to it by name, but it's where I realized about the Amazon Jersey shelter show.
The Harlan Coben thing. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, from her. I haven't watched it, but everybody's losing their minds about that telemarketers documentary.
I watched the first episode. Week? Yeah, I watched the first episode.
Amazing?
Amazing is pushing it, but it's good. It's good. I liked the first episode a lot. I watched the second and I kind of fell off halfway through. But I'm going to go back.
Whoa, hold on. There's so much Jersey. Jodie.
It's very, very Jersey.
Wait, but no, sorry. This is also Jersey. What the heck? That movie Jules?
What?
Have you heard about this?
No.
It's a new one. Jules.
You are all over the place. I'm like just trying to follow.
Okay. Well, because I'm looking at Amy's articles, and one that she published on August 11th is called Jules, a very human alien movie, which I've been wanting to see because I knew that it was a very human alien movie starring Ben Kingsley and an alien. Apparently is set in Boonton.
Oh, I think I saw a preview. Oh,
Milton and Jules. Yeah, exactly. I didn't know that part. Crashes into his Boonton backyard in Jules.
Oh, I saw a preview for this when I saw the Barbie movie.
I've wanted to see it, and now I have to. I'm telling you, Jersey's people are starting to, although it does make sense that people are like, where are we going to put the weird alien movie? Oh, Boonton. Mm-hmm. We'll put it in Boonton.
Yeah. No, I watched the first episode of the Telemarketer Show. I have not finished the second episode yet.
Sorry, I didn't even let you finish that.
That's so okay. Sorry. That's okay. Your brain is doing that little hopping around thing.
Just a little bit.
But yeah. So, okay. Back on track. We've recommended some things. Should we talk about next week?
I think we got to talk about next week.
We're finally doing it. I'm so excited.
You've been wanting to.
I've wanted to do this since we started this whole thing.
Something's been holding you back.
What's been holding me back is that this movie is not really easily accessible. Although, just today, we found out that maybe it's more accessible than I thought. It's not available on like a major streamer. So it's not rentable on like Amazon or anything like that. But it is available in two places for free, which we haven't been doing enough of recently because we've had a few, not expensive, but like $3-4.99 movies.
Right.
But this is available on archive.org, which we will link to in our show notes, and also in 24 parts on YouTube. I will say if you use the playlist on YouTube, though, that is
which
made
we
that
will
we'll
also
link to. Yep, it will be almost seamless. I would not make our listeners do this if this movie wasn't one of the most important movies to me ever in the world.
It's also, I think you're making it sound like a bigger hardship than it is. It's linked in the show notes.
Mm-hmm.
You can watch it on, I have the tab up right now. It plays perfectly fine. It's the whole movie. If you don't like that link, go watch it on YouTube, and it's just a playlist.
Mm-hmm.
Just watch it. It's fine. It'll be fine.
This movie is so important to me. It has possibly the best soundtrack that any movie has ever had. And I know who I'm saying that to, and I stand by it.
Okay.
It is one of my like queer awakening movies. It is another Christian Slater movie.
We love the Christian Slater
eventually
movie.
We're going to get through them all, I think. It is 1990s Pump Up the Volume.
I'm so excited.
About a underground radio DJ. It's
perfect. That's perfect already. That's all I need to hear.
The stakes, it's in a high school.
We love a high school movie. Yeah, I'm so excited to watch this. I feel like this might have been the first movie you suggested if it had been easier, if it had been like streaming on like Hulu or something.
It's just so important to me. It's a high school movie. It's Christian Slater. It's the stakes are weirdly low, but they feel really big. It's about like being young and feeling like nothing is in your control. Like it's angsty in like a very teen way. It's just great. It's just great. And the music is incredible in it. It's how I discovered Concrete Blonde. It's just like such a great piece of chunk of time.
And I get the feeling if you're somebody who what you have keyed into with one of the things you've keyed into like us is the Yellowjackets soundtrack. If you're a Yellowjackets watcher,
yeah,
I have a feeling just from the way Jodie that you've talked about this movie that this movie is really also going to click.
This soundtrack I owned on CD. I think I still own it on CD actually. And I will say I think that that's the reason that you can't find this movie online.
Right.
Is the rights to the soundtrack are fucking impossible to get at this point.
That makes sense.
But that soundtrack, like I still have that CD. I think it's in my car at the moment. Is incredible.
I try to wait until we're a little closer to recording our next episode before I watch the movie because I know I'm not going to watch it twice and I know how my memory works.
Yeah.
But I want to go watch it right now.
I think you should because
I really want to.
I think that it's a delight. It's a delight. It's just, I can't. I mean, I have no objectivity about this movie at all. This is one of my top like 3 to 5 ever. So
I'm so excited. I know I'm gonna love it. I know that I am, and I know our listeners are too. And yeah, links are in the show notes, but it seems pretty easy if you Google to find it, or if you search on YouTube, you'll find the playlist. But again, your easiest bet is you don't even have to do that. Just go to our episode notes and click one of the 2 links we've provided.
Yeah, and I will say, like, it's in the vein of Heathers in that it doesn't get... It's a cult movie that doesn't have the same, like, amazing critical reception, but the people that love it, love it. So...
Yeah, I'm so excited.
I'm so excited. More so than almost any other movie, I am so afraid of you not loving it as much as I do that I almost haven't wanted to do it because I'm just like, I can't hear negative things about this movie.
I'm gonna love it. I'm gonna love it. I'll tell you if I don't. It will pain me to tell you because I know it will be hurtful to you.
Yes.
But it's journalistic integrity. I've got to be honest.
Yes.
But I think I'm gonna love it.
I think you will too. I think you will too. I think you'll get it. So that's it for us this week. Follow us on Instagram and other places at WatchersPodNJ. You can follow my art account at Jodie Mim. Jodie is JODIE_MIM on Instagram. And you can find Andrea
at AQ Andrea Q.
Yes.
On Instagram and other places. You can find us at... Did you say that already?
I did.
Did you say our email address?
No. You can also
you can also email us at watcherspodnj@gmail.com. Leave us reviews on Apple Podcast, and I always say wherever else. I think that's the only one that makes it easy for you to leave a podcast.
Yeah, I think those are
a review.
The important ones. Yeah.
But we love hearing from you.
Yeah, and I do recommend following our Instagram because, as I've said before, Andrea makes hilarious little clips and reels from our show that delight me to no end. I have watched the cow tipping one like multiple times.
Well, and it's also where once in a while our listeners will comment and we get to chat there, and I like seeing our listeners talk to each other. Sometimes that happens there, and it's
where I get shit for not having seen certain movies.
Don't worry, folks. We're gonna remedy that one. Post haste.
But next week, pump up the volume.
Cowabunga, dude.
No.
I made a funny.
I know you did. I'm ignoring it. We'll see you next week.
That's also from Ninja Turtles.
I know. I'm telling you, everyone I know, all the boys in my life watch that movie. Okay, anyway. Goodbye.
You're so upset. Bye.
I am. Bye.